Good morning, dragons. Today, would you rather die for your woman or slay for your woman? Let's go!
What's up, RP Thor? I wish you were here, man. We wish you were here, but thanks for the wonderful message. Love you. Thanks for supporting the fellowship. You the fucking man.
Through the white thunderstorms, we ride on the back of our truckers in a fearless stride. Sons of gold, hearts made of fire, conquering lands, fueling our desire. Roaring engines and lightning in our eyes, united we stand. Strength won't compromise. From the east to the west, we sail and we roll. Beneath open skies, the promised land where our spirits arise. We battle the storms and tides of the sea. Now we've arrived in the land we're meant to be.
Good morning, Drakars. Yes, it still may be Saturday morning cartoons, but not all Saturday morning cartoons are sunshines and rainbows. It's not a Care Bear day. It is a He-Man day today with the Drakars on the DragonShip. We're going to be asking some very tough questions. We're going to be diving deep into our psyche and evaluating deep existential quandaries. So today, joining me, Huds from the East Coast, the most effective dating coach out there. How you doing, Huds?
Dude, I'm doing absolutely fantastic, and I'm so excited to get into this. As we dove deeper and kind of set up the outline for the show, we found, it's gonna be very, very interesting as we dive into the topics. So I would encourage the chat to be as involved as you want, because we're going to be highlighting a lot of those conversations. So definitely shoot the super chats over, any type of questions, chime in, and we're going to make this a very involved show for everybody.
Thank you very much, Huds. And all the way in deepest, darkest Texas, the man who plays with electricity for living, AJ Viking Detailer.
What is going on? This is going to be a fun topic. Might get a little dark, like Death of Optimus Prime dark, if you watched that back in the 80s.
I am Optimus Prime, and I and the other Autobots send this signal out to those listening among the stars.
That's pretty good.
Thank you very much, AJ. And also, from the East Coast, am I correct? Viking Paradigm, a fellow CME attendee. Had the pleasure of meeting him down in sunny Miami. How you doing? You're muted. You are muted, Viking.
Is Viking muted?
Yeah, Tarl, the mic. Yeah, the mic.
Viking Detailer, it's your commander. Speak up. Call out the drones.
No,
There's Paradigm.
Viking Paradigm is muted.
Oh, very good. Tarl.
Well,
Tarl,
Tarl,
All right. While he fixes that,
in the meantime,
yes, in the meantime, better late than never, stylistically, fashionably late, is another man from Texas down there causing all sorts of trouble with AJ, splitting atoms for a career, Nuke.
Hey, what's up, guys? I was able to finish work early today, so glad to be here. So let's get it.
And, of course, last but obviously not the least, God amongst men, son of Odin, RP Thor.
Gentlemen, welcome aboard the DragonShip. I got all these fine Vikings grabbing an oar, stowing their shield. Nuke has a Lego shield, just so everybody knows, but it's a well-assembled Lego shield, which I admire greatly.
Wait, do you have the Captain America one?
What good men to be here, pounding on the drum, ready to pull on the oars, because they know A rising tide lifts all ships, and we are that rising tide, asking these questions that every man must know in order to be successful as a savage Saturday morning cartoon watcher. Thanks for having the show, guys. I love the Dragon Ship, and look at everybody that's in the chat right now. Give us a chat, send a super chat. Every one of these guys has a YouTube, an X platform, a Facebook platform, an Instagram platform. They deserve your subscription, and they deserve you to follow them. The wisdom that's offered from these guys are not afraid. They're not afraid to go out there and engage every single day. If you've heard these guys' story like I have, these are the men we need to bring up in our world today. They're not afraid. They're going to go out there. They're going to make it happen. If they make a mistake, they're going to brush the dirt off. They're going to wipe it down, and they're going to look around and say, it was just a scratch. Let's fucking get back in the arena. I know it hasn't been 8 minutes yet, so eat me. Let's get in the arena today. Thanks, guys.
And of course, shout out to Nerdrotic Gary, who I had the pleasure of meeting and giving us that shout out for RP Thor himself. Thor's a big fan of Gary over at Nerdrotic. And speaking of Nerdrotic, make Marvel male again.
Yeah, why aren't we going to do that? I mean, come on.
All right, so Tara will be back shortly as he adjusts his audio. Guys, today we're getting deep into it. And we're going to involve the chat a bit more than usual because we definitely want to hear from other men in the chat. Men, today in the chat, this is a safe time and place to share your fears. I'm not kidding.
Oh, I love it. Hey, guys, just a quick explanation. I'm probably going to switch between the eye patch and the glasses. If those of you that don't know, sometimes I have to wear the eye patch because it reduces input and I don't get the headaches, which is really funny. You guys want to hear a funny story?
Yes, sir.
Got these glasses, which are prism glasses, which bring the sight picture in alignment so I can see what you're chatting. I went to the store 3 days ago, the grocery store. Yeah, I could drive. I could drive with the patch. Everything's good. I could see. I got out there and I walked up towards the front of the store. There were two little tables. And there's this big burly dude sitting there. And there was these two little tiny girls. And they had cookies. And the one little girl pointed her finger right at me. And she said, Dad, look, a pirate. And you know what I said?
Arr. Fantastic.
And then I had a great conversation with her dad. And shout out to you if you joined today. You know who you are, Earl. Thank you. Appreciate it. And you can tell your girls the pirate loves them. Now I'm going to go back to the glasses. So there's your story about the pirate that went to the store.
That's wholesome. I love it.
So the first thing I want to ask you guys today is we're actually going to look at our thumbnail today, which is not really something that we do, but we're going to do it today. So guys, open forum, doesn't matter who talks. When you see this, what, for each person, the peasant and the pillager, what thoughts are going through your head? What do you think about when you see these two?
I'm going to jump into this right away. Although the man is the leader in both of them, on the left side, it is him taking care of the problem out of desperation, where on the right is he is leading the charge to success. And there is no desperation involved.
He's screaming for his tribe members, his family, to the shield wall, Vikings.
And what about the woman behind him in both of them? What do you guys notice?
Well, it's almost
fear and excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's fear and excitement. It's almost like the desperation, the poverty on the left. He's still taking care of business, whatever, and it just his stance kind of looks like that. But
it conveys a lot.
Scared.
His art conveys a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, she's scared that they're going to be able to get through whatever is going on. Whereas on the right, she's excited for the next challenge. She's excited to keep going forward. She's excited to pillage more villages.
But who's on the right? Who's doing the pillaging, her or her man?
Well,
it doesn't really matter, because if you look at it and you take the emotion from it, what you take from it is his success is her success.
There we go. There we go. So, with that today, the first thing we want to ask, and what kind of started all this, was a little bit a thing I did on Twitter, but we may revisit that later and have a much more lighthearted episode, shall we say. Today, I just
That'd be good.
wanted to be a bit more serious. And guys, one's a peasant and one's a pillager. And we're not here to shit on the peasant. Quite the opposite. As we showed, the peasant, he's still protecting his woman.
He's a sentinel.
Yes. But, and so we're not here to say that standing between your woman and the danger coming at you is a bad thing. But we're going to ask ourselves, we're going to ask our fellow dragons in the chat, and we're going to reflect on the consequences of being one or the other, because both have consequences. Consequences doesn't mean bad things. Like, oh, you stole something, now you go to jail, that's consequences. No, there are good consequences too, or outcomes. But we can use the word consequences for both good and bad. Being a peasant and being a pillager both have consequences. But Mike, how can there be consequences to being a pillager? It sounds awesome. Oh, especially in today's modern times, there are consequences, and we're going to delve deep into those. Like I said, we're getting serious. We're getting dark today.
That man is jumping into the arena, Mike, with his woman cornering him.
All right, Carl, are you back? Are you back, sir?
I should be. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I had to do the old turn it off and turn it back on again.
Have you tried turning it off, turning it back on again? Tarl, I think you have the best mic. So I think Tarl is the herald of the
That's
DragonShip.
a good call. That's why he's on the drums, setting the pace for our oars.
Get a timpani. I don't know how much you can get them used, but get a literal timpani and get.
I can see his bald head right now with the salty spray coming across his face, and he's got both arms high in the air, swinging those mallets hard at the drum right now. Thanks, Tarl.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, here's the first existential question we are asking each other, the chat, and most importantly, ourselves today. Is it better, we're past the 8-minute mark now, is it better to die for your woman or to kill for your woman?
Or to kill the other bastard for your woman. And hand her.
Let's go around the horn here. Huds, you bragged in Telegram you could answer this question in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Gonna pull me back out as I'm trying to throw myself in. With this question, so is it better to die for her or kill for her? It depends on the situation. What's the situation? There are times where it does make sense to sacrifice yourself. Like, for example, let's go back to my favorite movie and my favorite recording artist of all time, Celine Dion. So with the Titanic, which I love that movie. And I love My Heart Will Go On. Great song, best song. Definitely give it another listen today. With that, in that situation, it's best to die for your woman. Now, in other times, let's say you are, in the middle of a scuffle with somebody. We deal with it all the time in Philly. Like literally, if I go across the street, I'm in a bad neighborhood. So if, let's say, me and my girl are walking, she refuses to go over there. So I guess that doesn't exist. But hypothetically, if she was okay with going over there, yeah, exactly. If we were getting robbed at gunpoint, like, I'm going to kill that man. I don't care. I'm going to kill that man to protect her. So when we're talking about, is it better to die for or to kill? I really do believe that it's all situationally dependent. I think and personally, my stature on life is it's better to be more aggressive than passive. Sometimes I think it could be misconstrued when you are dying or sacrificing for a woman, that it comes across as like weak. I don't exactly think so, but again, it's all situationally dependent.
So your logic is because Jack couldn't kill the iceberg, then it makes sense to give up, like what most of the men did on the Titanic, is give up their place and let the women and children onto the lifeboats.
Correct. Yeah. In that situation, there's no other option. You could be like Rose's husband. I don't know if they ever finally got married, but her fiance, they weren't married yet. Fiance. You could be like Rose's fiance and steal somebody else's child to sneak your way onto a lifeboat. But I don't think in that case it's the morally right option. I think that was morally unjust. There's always ways you can do anything. So that's essentially killing for yourself, or for, I guess you could say, for your woman. Like, you could do sneaky things to make it work, or you could sacrifice yourself. And again, it's all situationally dependent.
Well, for the sake of the rest of the discussion today, let's whittle down the hypothetical that we will apply throughout the rest of the episode to the most statistically likely thing to happen. We're not on a big ship with insufficient lifeboats traversing the Atlantic. Statistically, the most likely thing that is going to happen is going to be a crime of some sort, either home invasion, mugging, or carjacking, right?
Or crime of passion.
Well, so when you say crime of passion, AJ, are you talking about, what are you referring to?
Like crime of passion could be if you're still on the blue pill side of things. You walk in on your girl cheating on you and you end up killing the dude. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, today I would like to take the defensive point of view. That's why the question is it better to die for her or to kill for her?
Kill.
And I think as men, like, people have commented on social media before about.
So I do think more men have died for their women, to be honest here, by a large margin.
It's statistically over history.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. I agree. But what I'm getting at is, so like typically in sometimes on social media, people will post this meme where the girl freaks out, kind of like the whole, how often does your man think about the Roman Empire? The other thing we think about a lot is saving people. And when women realize this, they kind of like, it weirds them out. It's like, wait, men daydream about saving other people? That's weird. Like, no, it's in our DNA. It's what we were born and bred to do. So for that, we are talking about things like home invasion, basically, where it's like you have a choice. Are you going to hide in the closet with your wife and child, or are you going to shove your wife and child into the closet and go downstairs and deal with business? And Huds has basically said, in a situation like that, I'm going to deal with business. What about you, AJ?
I think in that like scenario you just put right there, I think men actually kind of daydream of that. Like, yeah, if a dude broke into my house, how would I handle the situation? It's like, which weapon do I go for in which situation?
Mm-hmm. So do you have long range and short range options?
I have all range options.
All range options. Very nice.
So this is where us guys probably need a little instruction from other guys on why it's really important. And I'll just give you some of what my father did real briefly. It's much more involved than that, but men should be sizing and assessing situations constantly and running scenarios constantly. This is because in our hunter-gatherer past, doing that, you would survive. You must have to scenario everything. If you're hunting wild boar, you know the tusks are bad. You know you need to get away from the mouth. You need to stand in a certain position. If I'm going to a restaurant that's exposed to traffic on one area that leads to a ghetto place, I will probably put my back at some point so I can see the activity out front. Should there be an auto accident? Should nefarious characters come in there? I would have already assessed at least 2 to 3 exits and what would be cover versus concealment. Does anybody understand the difference between cover versus concealment? This is important when something happens like a mass shooting. Cover will protect you from bullets. Concealment will only protect you from sight. So these are quick things that any competent 3-gun course can teach you about how to protect yourself in an environment that you may never have to. But it's important that a man thinks about scenarios. Hey, I'm in this apartment building. Do you know when I travel, I have a small box. In that box is a specialized hood that will reflect heat and allow me to actually breathe inside of a fire in a smoky room for up to 3 minutes to get an exit. And it's also made for boats, all that stuff. A little simple, goes in my bag. I mean, what if you're in a fire inside of a hotel? I can put that on. I got a little emergency flashlight. You're good to go. I mean, how silly is that? But think about it. Little things like that, I've actually seen used in real life. I've seen it actually used in real life in a vault where all the oxygen was gone and we're able to get a hood to a person. So I'm just saying scenarios should go in your mind, Nuke and Tarl, where you're thinking, what is the worst thing that can happen? And what would I do that would make it even worse? Don't do that. And then what could I do to prepare for an easy exit? That's simple. That's all. It takes 30 seconds. So that's my answer to that question as far as not dying for my wife. I must survive in order to effecate their escape and their lives. I am the first one that needs not to die so that I can protect them. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, it does. I have a quick question for you guys, and I don't know if that's something that. Hey, you don't need to go all the way to my full face. I know I'm beautiful, but I want to ask you guys just real quick before we move on with the question. How many of you guys do exactly what I do? Every single time you're going to a restaurant, new area, you always take a seat where you have clear views of exits and entry points.
A walk around.
I always do that.
Wall.
Yeah, we literally get trained for that in the military. When you're overseas, you always sit away from the street with your back facing the wall. That way you can observe.
A quick recon's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
You guys realize on your phone that you can zoom way the fuck in on stuff? So
Mm-hmm.
if there's something down the street you don't get, I can see it. I got a freaking telephoto lens right there.
Especially in like a restaurant, if you know where the kitchen door is, like the door between where the customers sit in the kitchen, know where that door is, because if you can get through that door, out the back of the kitchen is the back door out the back of the restaurant where they take the trash.
That is brilliant. I love that you said that. That literally the best place for at least safety is to sit with your back against the wall, in between with the kitchen to your right or left, and then having full view of the entire area.
That works in the club, guys. That works at the music festival. Also, make friends with security. Dudes, it's fucking easy. You got game, right?
Yep.
Go make friends with security. Guess who the first person they think of when they're doing their job? Hey, that guy Thor is badass. We better, I mean, it's just going to be one of those things where game can be used to make a friend. You can make a connection, and you have bolstered your survival chances all in one. Simple things to think of, most of us don't. How many of you guys actually got taught this by your fathers? Because this is where this information came from to me, and from him to his father, all the way back to Iceland.
I was not taught by my father on this.
I'm sorry about that, but I'll sub for him.
Yeah,
My dad just told me pay attention, like stop, like look up from your phone, pay attention. Like he wouldn't smack me upside the head, like, hey, we're walking, like, pay attention.
I didn't have that because I grew up in the middle of literally nowhere. Like my hometown has maybe 1,000 people in it, so we really didn't worry about that too much.
What about cows? Like angry.
Did you have any
cows?
Indians out there?
Nah,
Okay, no cowboys.
no cowboys. I was up in Vermont. I grew up not in Texas.
Oh wow, that's really out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's deep winter, man. Okay, great.
Because remember, when shit hits the fan, security's not going to care that you're running through the kitchen to get away. They won't care. They're going to care more.
And
about
knows
something
what
else.
goes with this. Since we talked about game earlier, when shit hits the fan, there isn't a single woman that wants an emotional man.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
When shit hits the fan, suddenly masculinity is no longer toxic. So, Thor, I actually wanted to ask you a follow-up question, since you are the most seasoned of all of us, and by that I mean the oldest.
You mean I'm seasoned like by A1 sauce or
salt and
rub
pepper?
on, mesquite? I smell like it.
Since you've been around the longest, Has there been a situation where you have had to deal with business in your own home?
Not in my own home. No, they're not going to get past the claymores and the wires out front. But no, I haven't had to deal with it in my own home. Have I had to deal with it on the neighborhood? Yes. This is not a great place to talk about that because of discretion.
I understand.
But just know that there are young men that will push boundaries, and sometimes you will have to take strong physical action to impress upon them that is not the road they want to go down in the neighborhood or with the neighborhood children, because it doesn't matter whether there's cops. The consequences for him are rather permanent or painful. And once that is established, you have a good working relationship with that particular neighbor. As far as I'll go.
Yes, sir. So, Nuke, is it better to die for your woman or kill for your woman?
You guys ready for a little wrench? I want to throw a little axe into this whole machine.
You're gonna say neither.
What about women? What about women dying for you?
Yeah.
Give me an example. Give me an example of that scenario.
They want to. Yeah.
There are women that will fight other women because they looked at your woman wrong, or they feel like, you know, verbal altercations, threatened. They will stalk other women, you know, do crazy things. One of the most volatile things you'll have in your life is a woman. You're most likely will get in trouble because of a woman in your life, right?
That's fact.
And the biggest threat of violence in your life will always be your significant other, because they live with you. They can, you know, obviously most women aren't bad people, right? But that's going to be the biggest or the closest or the most likely threat of violence in your day-to-day life is the woman you choose to live with and marry. So
probability, that's the most likely threat legally to you. And if you're treated,
you get hit in the face by a woman that you love. I don't know. I hope that no men in here have experienced that, but I will tell you, it is one of the most strange emotions you will ever feel as a man, where you don't know what to do. Like, I genuinely didn't know what to do. And the thing is, the best you got is just let time pass.
Yep.
And men, our protector instinct is defeated by time. Meaning that when the Aurora shooting happened in Colorado, those men jumped in that theater. Those men jumped in front of those women that they did not know,
right,
to save their life, and they took all the bullets, right? But had those men had 1 minute to think and see what was going on, you know, they probably wouldn't have done that, right? Our protector instinct is a function of time. I think Rollo Tomasi talks about this.
An instinct,
Yeah, so one of the biggest things you could have that will protect you from getting in trouble, getting the police called on you, hurting, you know, because even if your wife punches you in the face, you know, if you punch her back, you're gonna kill her, right? You're gonna, like, we all lift weights here. We're gonna, you know, so the best thing you can do is step back, think, give it 10 seconds, because even
if stage for your escape plan, guys, have an eject.
When it comes to violence, right, 9 times out of 10. Unless you're cornered like the guy on the left in the thumbnail, you're gonna want to run, right? You're gonna want to run away and think, because even if you have the upper hand, you still are in danger, especially when you're dealing with a woman, especially if it's a woman you live with and you love. Which I just wanted to say,
long term.
And Nuke, I want to hop on that just for one second with what you had said. When it comes to violence, there is always a winner and a loser. Don't put yourself in a situation that's like that.
Yeah. And
one of the most important lessons my father taught me is that even if you win a fight, you can still lose the fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nuke, that was incredibly profound. I just have to say, like, I really like how you phrased that. It was very eloquent.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, we talk about roles. Men are supposed to be this, men are supposed to be that. We're not supposed to be anything. We just are, right? Because I don't care how masculine, alpha, selfish you are as a guy. If you see a young woman trying to change her tire and she's struggling, you're gonna cross the street and help her out, right? Because we are a protector. It's in our biology. We can't help it. Like, we can't fight it. And if you do, it's like it bothers you for a couple minutes. Like, man, I should have helped that girl. She was struggling, you know, even though I don't know her. But for the most part, your protector instinct will get you in trouble a lot of times, right? And you got to put yourself in the most likely scenario. A likely scenario will be you are at a place like a sexual zone. Let's say like a pool party. You're hanging out with Rolo at Babes in Toyland or something, and you walk away, and a guy starts hitting on your wife, or she gets mad at him, right? And she starts raising her voice like, "Don't touch me," blah blah blah, and the guy starts getting violent. What do you do in that situation, right? Your protector is going to be like, yeah, you got to truck this guy like Babu Boucher. You know, you got to do the run up and double leg kick like Babu Boucher in that in Waterboy, right? But you got to think, hey, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's hitting on a woman that he thought it was single, right? So let me go over there and shake his hand. Hey, what's up, man? Are you here for this too? And diffuse the situation, right? That will save your life. And I see it. Yeah, and we think that these guys that start fights in clubs and sexual zones where there's women, we think that they're alphas. No, they're actually betas, because alphas are calm. Alphas take in the situation, they relax, they realize like, hey, I'm not the top dog here. Let me chill. Hey, this guy, like, and you have situation awareness. Hey, this guy looks kind of weird. He's dressed in all black. He's like, I could see that he's probably holding a gun in his pocket. Like, this guy's nervous as fuck. Like, that's the guy that's gonna start shit. Not the calm alpha guy that's, you know, chilling, having a good time. Yeah. So it's just, yeah, the stoicism, right? And that's just an observation.
Yeah, that calmness comes from being self-aware that you can handle business, and so you don't need to worry about somebody else.
Yeah, live to fight another day, you know.
Yeah. Viking, Tarl. We got two Vikings here, so I got to say Tarl from now on.
Yeah. Well, when it comes down to that question, like, you know, is it better to, you know, die for your woman or kill for your woman? It's just like, well, it's very contextual, right? The point is that you're going, if you're a man and you're thinking as smart as you can, you're going to do everything in your power to, you know, not die, right? You're going to be trying to survive, and you're going to be trying to protect, right? And that's kind of the essence of enlightened self-interest, right? I cannot protect others as well as I can when I protect myself first. So I'm always thinking in that, you know, like my personal safety, because I can't, if it's just like the oxygen mask on a plane. If I lose consciousness but trying to put the oxygen mask on my girl, right, and I don't put it on myself first, then I'm going to lose consciousness. Failing to put it on her, we're both going to die, right? Where if I secure my own oxygen mask first, then I can easily put one on her and then even help other people, right? If anybody else is struggling in the plane. And, you know, and going back to the situational awareness thing, like for me, I was always taught that way by both my mom and my dad, right? My dad started training me when I was like 4 years old, right? So it taught me the principle of board breaking and stuff like that, and said, you're going to learn how to do this eventually. So, like, you know, and sure enough, a couple of years later, he had me doing that stuff, and he always had me thinking tactically. He'd always ask me after he'd have like a business interaction at work. He'd always be like, report, son, you know, or assessment, right? And then I would have to give him a detailed report on what exactly just happened, and if the guy was lying, if he was being deceptive, manipulative, and I would have to like detail the entire conversation in less than like 5 minutes to him and give him an assessment, and then he would critique me on if I got it right or not. And that's how he trained me. And he would talk about, you know, things like Thor talked about assessing, is it visual cover or is it actually protective cover, right? And just knowing that simple thing, when you're out and about and thinking about these things preemptively, most of what's going to, you know, protect you is preemptive, right? You have to act accordingly. It's just like when guys critique girls about going out in, you know, clothes looking like a whore, right? You know, there's a reason for that, because some guys aren't going to follow the rules. They're very few and far between, but some guys aren't going to be respectful. Some guys aren't going to follow the rules. Some guys are going to do something physical that they're not supposed to do, right? So by preemptively not doing the thing that's going to garner that attention, that's powerful, right? That's your first line of defense. If you let that guard down, then you're basically just, you know, increasing your risk tolerance, right? Like, oh, it's cool to take that higher risk. So you always got to be doing those risk assessments, paying attention to your environment. And also one of the big things, here's a big catch-22. Somebody mentioned, you know, like when you're going to new places. Well, one of the big things that happen, and this happens with automobile accidents, is that a lot of automobile accidents happen within a couple miles of your home when you're in familiar territory. Why? Complacency. Hubris.
Paying less attention.
You think you're in a safe space, just like when people don't really take their home security very seriously. You think you're in a safe space and ain't nobody going to burst your bubble. But once again, there's a small amount of people out there that will burst your bubble, and they will do it deliberately on purpose without any hesitation or remorse, and I mean that metaphorically in a broad sense. So that's the way that I look at it, is like, yeah, I will, kill and die for my woman if the context calls for it, right? But once again, me correctly assessing the situation is the crux, right? Just like the red pill in general. Like, we could get all the advice in this fucking space, but if you don't do the work, you won't get any results.
Well, let's
Great point.
also be realistic. No man puts his wife and child in the closet and then goes downstairs with the intent to die. But he goes down there knowing that the possibility exists. That's the difference. Like, no, I don't want to die, and I don't intend to. I intend to survive. But that possibility exists that when I go downstairs and I confront the problem may have a gun.
Yeah, pucker your butthole and focus.
Yeah, it's like when I was in the Navy, submarine force, we wanted to keep that ratio of dive to surface at 1 or better than 1, because if it's below 1, we're not coming back. Somebody fucked up.
And so that kind of leads into the second part of this existential examination of this is, if you're removed from the equation, so if you confront the issue and you do not survive, so what's going to happen to your woman? And when I say your woman in this context, we're talking about a damn good woman. She's been with you a while, right? And if you go to jail, what happens to her? Because both are a very good possibility. It's actually going to be quite rare that you handle the situation and everything's hunky-dory afterwards.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
That's I mean, again, that's with everything in life. You need to have backup plans. So, for example, like with my girl, I have everything set up that if anything goes wrong, like life insurance, things like that gets distributed appropriately. So always having backup plans for things. And it truly is with every decision in life. If that 0.0001% chance of shit hitting the fan happens, what do you have? It's the same way that I handle finances as well. I always have backup funds so that if anything goes wrong, boom, I can go ahead and pull from something and I will be okay. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Guys.
Oh my God! Now you finally sound normal.
I've done nothing.
Yeah, having a backup plan, Huds, that makes sense considering the kind of coaching you do there in Philadelphia. Yeah, backdoor plan's really good. Backdoor. I ain't backup.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
You're
It's
a
a
hot
little
mic.
high, but
I hear you.
it's definitely clearer. So just turn it down a little bit.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, chat, and thank you, guys. Other guys, same question. So, if if you're taken out and your woman is now left without you, I mean, how does that make you feel? Yes, I know. I asked that. How does that make you feel? And are you prepared for that?
It makes you feel unmanly.
Make sure that the relationship your wife has with your parents, if they survive you, is good, because your parents will become their caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
Expand on that, Nuke, with that whole thing.
Your parents, when you leave the nest, your parents still have a need to take care of things, right? That's why whenever you go home, they cook for you, they treat you like a king. If you have a good relationship, if you have the privilege of having a good relationship with your parents. So let your woman into the life of this extended family, all this stuff, right? Because if something happens, these are the people that are going to help her, right? So I think the human relationship part of it, yeah, of course, everyone's going to have life insurance, get a good life insurance policy, but and allowing her to connect and bond with your mother, right, with your father, with.
Yeah, and that's tricky for some people, Nuke. It really
And
is.
it's tough. Yeah, exactly. It's not easy, right? But there has to be this kind of like implicit understanding where I know you guys maybe not get along or anything like that, but just know I love you.
You need to be, yeah, you got to use some interface skills there for sure.
Yeah, it is
Because
not.
that's actually an advantage. Yeah, family's a huge advantage if you use it correctly. Now, it can be a problem if you have energy vampires. We could talk about that sometime because there are
Oh,
people
yeah.
like that. And that could be a huge detractor, and you will have to solve that problem with or without. And you can do it, and you can correct it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
where great game
I
comes
think
into
that's a
play,
good-
right?
I think that's a good point. What I want to throw in on what Nuke was talking about, and that's why I thought it was a profound statement again, is that your parents love you, or at least your mom will love you unconditionally. But I think both parents truly love their children unconditionally. When you go, if something like that were to happen, it's almost like a proxy of them taking care of or wanting to take care of your wife, or I know everybody hates the term partner, because
Let's call them consorts. That means
it's
spouse.
consorts. Fair enough. So it's almost like a proxy of taking care of you because you're no longer here. So that's a really interesting point to think about.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not easy, guys. I'm not saying this is like oh, hey, mom, this is the girl of my dreams. You guys are best friends now. Like, I would say there are certain things in life that will cause humans to come together. Like, if you do decide to have a child, I know for a fact, at least in my life, my mom would be willing to move in for a couple months until she's ready to give birth. That's a normal thing in Latino communities too, where everyone just kind of comes together to help the wife or the mother give birth and all that stuff. So those are bonding opportunities for women and all that stuff. So that's good. I think one of the best things you can do, right? It's like in a zombie apocalypse, it's not the guy with the most guns that's going to survive. It's the guy with the most connections and network that's going to survive. And that's how it is in real life. Like, if you do decide, not if you decide, but if you leave this earth, right, the best thing you can do is ensure that your wife has the same connections you do in order for her to thrive with your children. God forbid, right?
So the next thing I wanted to talk about here with this is the different mindsets and aspects of the peasant versus the pillager. And there's three basic ones. There's the physical, there's the mental, and then there's the spiritual. So the first one, the physical, is it pretty much, are we...
Is it the social aspect of the use of force? Is that what you're talking about?
No, what I'm getting at is, so the default is, well, obviously, the pillager is going to be big and strong and the peasant is going to be weak. Because the thing we need to consider, gentlemen, is we have viewers all over the world. And even in the United States, we have viewers in different states. And let's be real, guys. Not everyone everywhere in the world is allowed to own a firearm. The firearm...
Or even exercise force.
Exactly. The firearm is the great equalizer, and that's why I believe it is the Second Amendment is a very good thing. Because if somebody comes into your home and they have a firearm, and you don't, you're in trouble. But if you also have a firearm, well, now you're on equal footing. And then it's going to come down to things like training and frame and ability to use that firearm. But let's just drill into it. Is it pretty much determined that you need to know how to fight and you need to be muscular to defend your family without a firearm? Because in a pinch, we all need to put ourselves in the situation that we don't have one.
No. Nope. Not at all. You don't have to have it required. If you have the intelligence to prepare and scenario out, you can be a full-on quadriplegic. And you can prepare for these scenarios so that they cannot reach the funnel or escalation point that you're in jeopardy because you've outthought it before it's actually happened. This is strategic thinking. And this takes much more skill, but if you acquire it, it's much better in the long run.
Well, if I may, sir, can you outthink and prepare for someone coming to your home to prevent them from even coming in?
Sure you can. Where do you
Dogs.
live? what kind of dogs you have. Do you have a dog run? Have you put out the claymores? Do you have
How-
zip lines?
How armed are your neighbors? If your neighbors are armed, because sometimes, most of the time,
armed? How
yeah,
about
your
some
neighbors will
cops
kill the
that live
guy
next
before
to you?
you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nuke knows. I mean, there is absolutely, and you could be a reverend
Texas.
citizen in this group to where if somebody was threatening you in some way, it is their worst day ever that they would even think about messing with a just slightly below average God amongst men.
This is where you make
Never
friends
mind.
with your Mormon neighbors.
talking
Live
about
next to me. Live next to me, and we'll talk.
Yeah, there we go.
However, what HUDs has there is the last line, and of course, that's important. But no, you can outthink these scenarios. You have to believe that you can. I mean, there are guys on this panel right now, like Tarl and Mike and Nuke, that have these belief systems that they utilize. They utilize NLP, they utilize hypnosis. These guys look at the red pill and they take what's useful and they inculcate it into their daily think. They're not going to have a problem because they've outthought it already. They show up to the restaurant. There is a reconnoiter that takes place. Nuke is a military man. He assesses the situation. How easily could I get out of here? Who's here? Who's coming? Who's going? What does it look like at the front desk? Hey, guess what? I just saw a sign at the front desk. We support the Second Amendment. I'm good to go. You know? So yes, it is doable. Most people won't because it takes effort. And that's the victim mentality, unfortunately, a lot of us have to witness today.
Fastback has a very interesting comment here. It says, put a sign in your front yard. This property respects the Second Amendment. That's a really nice way of saying...
Come rob me.
Don't tread on me.
Yes, without actually saying it. Because if you put
Come and get it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you put a sign in your yard that says, I have you-know-whats...
You know what I noticed works really, really well, too?
What?
So here's what you do. So you go on Amazon, guys. And on Amazon, they have these little things that are made for your phone that are called gimbals, right? And they can be run by a cord. And you mount one of these on your roof. And then they fit, essentially, they'll fit an Airsoft Air 15 on top of it with optics. And you just have it slowly scanning in front of your house from the roof like this. That works pretty good, too.
Guys, before you take Thor's suggestion, make sure this is legal in your state and or country and
It's
or
just
county.
Airsoft, fully legal.
And also make sure that your HOA isn't going to come down on you for it.
You use it to take out the HOA.
Imagine you hang a Biden sign right under it, you're fine.
So,
But you know, just the thought of that slowly scanning with the optics on it.
Yeah, they have them now. Paintball guns and all that stuff.
yep. Who are there any of us here that would know how to use their kitchen knives effectively if they had to?
Yes.
Dude, what are you talking about?
You can read about that if you want.
chef.
Kitchen knives, if they're properly installed in a wooden block, are essentially a magazine-fed throwing knife set.
Yeah, and I've also considered, depending on the home invasion situation, is that they could even be used against me, and you got to consider things like that too. If you have weapons in your home, your location and whatnot, if even stuff like that you might not think is a weapon, right? It could be used against you depending on the context.
Yeah,
Not
there's
likely in my
very
scenario,
effective-
but you should think about
Yeah.
it.
But see,
They're very
that's the
effective
thing.
close-in stuff.
That's why I have my home set up where the Legos are in front, and then all the kitchen and weapons and other stuff are in the back. So
Dude, that's so smart. You just throw out the Legos right there in the entry, and you're good to go.
yeah, because everybody hates stepping on a Lego.
Exactly.
So throw a Lego and go grab a weapon.
What do you guys think of
The
electrical
Lego
weapons?
perimeter defense system is actually quite good.
Thor, you're a thunder god. What do you think of electrical weapons like tasers, stuff like that?
Yeah, they're actually good. You can get them on canes and poles. They're effective if you make contact. Taser, of course, makes the pistol version. Electrical weapons will flatten up someone. They actually make, I mean, if you really want it, they make flashbang grenades. There's stuff that could be done. You don't want to be in a situation to ever have to use any sort of weapon, electrical or not. Really, you're too close if that's happened. You'd
Because
rather
I'm
think
thinking-
about socially, like you said, outthink it before it ever gets that close. You need to keep them outside the perimeter.
Yeah, because maybe I don't want to kill a 16-year-old that is misguided.
You
Exactly.
don't. Nobody wants to.
I'd rather like shock them and then beat the shit out of them and call the police. You know, like
Or have the neighbor stop them by hitting them with a cane or some dumb shit. You know?
yeah. I mean, if
Hey,
it's
what are
full
you
grown
doing in
man,
Nuke's house? You know.
yeah. If it's a full grown man, um,
Consequences.
another thing. Now there's the keypads for getting into your house. We don't use keys anymore. We use keypads. Change that every 3 or 4 months.
Sure.
Especially for you guys that are actively dating, because you don't know, like you could have dated someone's wife and they're
I
coming.
think ring cameras set up so that because you can set up the distance for motion. You can
Yeah.
set those things up so they're 50 yards away and that thing's going off.
Yeah, Mike. Hey, Mike. I know you're in the IT industry. Like, is there anything computer wise, like tech wise, that you can do to protect yourself so you don't have to go to the final solution?
Definitely. There is, I use Philips Hue in my home, and you can integrate that with Amazon products. And so I have the Philips Hue motion sensor. And so I set the timer on the motion sensor to between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. every single night forever. I set it down in the entry hallway. If you trip this motion sensor, all the lights come on. The lights in the bedroom, the front porch, every single light comes on, because I'm not going downstairs at 1 a.m. And if
that's
I am,
outthinking the situation. That's outthinking the scenario.
Exactly.
That is jumping ahead in time. That is time dilation, which you need to acquire that skill.
I also, and this is where you can use technology. Some people don't like things like Alexa and stuff like that because they believe that they're spying on us, and that's a legitimate concern. I, however, intend to leverage it accordingly. And so what I have is I have a secret phrase. If I yell this secret phrase into my Alexa, it's going to turn on all the lights, and then it's going to start strobing the lights, and then it's going to call the police.
Yep.
Wait, what's that secret phrase? Is it that Mike Steele is underweight?
Pineapples. Pineapples.
Nope. Can't
Nah,
say it, because if I say it, it'll
I'm just
happen.
teasing you. Jack's not here. I got to tease you somehow.
No, it's fine. Hey, I lost 3 pounds.
It's $20. It's $20.
$20. $20.
Yes. So that's another option. You can utilize technology. And Nuke, my final answer to your question is when you're referring to the keypad, you can also set up a guest code. So you have the master code that you know that lets you into the house, but then you can say guest number 1 code 5547. And then you tell this gal you're dating, yeah, the code's 5547. And then if shit goes sideways and you break up, you either change that code or you revoke it. You just delete it. And then if she types in 5547, it doesn't even do anything.
There's temporary, like if you have a girl coming over, like, hey, I would say an example of this is like in my building, you need to put in a code that calls me on my phone so I can let you in, right?
Yep.
So if it's 2 a.m. and there's someone that wants to do some harm to me, right? They have to call that number to get in. So I see that call, I'm like, all right, someone's coming up to my door, right? But I think for me, the biggest thing you can do to keep yourself safe is live in a good area. Honestly, like that is.
But Nuke, that costs more money.
Everything costs money.
I'm just saying what the black pillar guy is going to say.
The more upper class you go, and I'm not trying to be like classist or like everyone's coming from a different life situation, right? But the higher you go, the more community based your neighborhood or your apartment building becomes, right? It's just a weird phenomenon. Like now that I live in a semi nice area, thank God that I had the money to do it. I feel like I know everyone, and I feel like if I left my wallet out on a hallway here, they'd return it to me in like 24 hours. Someone would be knocking on my door and be like, "Hey, man, you left your wallet." Right? That high trust is what's going to get you, is going to protect you, give you that extra layer of safety, because you're less vulnerable because you got other people watching your blind spots. Not that you depend on them, right? But it's nice once in a while where I'm walking my dog, my wallet falls out of my pocket, and someone calls me and says, "Hey, man, I found your wallet. Where can I give it to you?" Right? Yeah. That's, you can't get that in every neighborhood. And that's a good thing to have. Now,
that's really good.
Now someone doesn't have my personal information and my address, they're like, "Hey, I got to get this wallet back." So morality is good too.
Well, what about that statistic that we've all heard that the higher end neighborhoods actually have more robberies because the people come from the poor neighborhood into the richer neighborhood to rob?
That can happen.
That can
I
happen.
actually knew a couple of kids that tried to recruit me into doing some bullshit like that back in the day, telling me how awesome it was. They would do what they called shopping in these upper middle class areas, and they would basically go through and like it was either be going through like the buildings under construction, looking for stuff that wouldn't be missed, or they would like just go into people's garages that would be like say open with their truck parked outside. Yeah, unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 did not make it because they fucked with a 40-year-old tradesman, big old black man that wasn't taking that shit. They robbed him 3 times in a row, and he responded with the final option. Yeah, I won't go into the whole story because it's the one guy that survived. He told me after the fact. But here's the fun part: he didn't learn his lesson. But that is a thing. I know personally. That's anecdotal. I know. But yeah, that is something to worry about. It depends on the neighborhood, though, right? And it also depends on how blasé people are in that neighborhood, because you could go to a good neighborhood and then but everybody's pushovers and they don't know what to do. If some weird people start coming around, they don't know how to act, right? They're not thinking about that stuff. So you do want to be aware of like what kind of people are in your neighborhood, and also not take things for granted. Once again, if you move into a good neighborhood, don't assume, because you never know when the rich kid or whatever is going to develop a meth problem, and then they start doing some fuck shit. That stuff does happen in those neighborhoods too. It might not even be a threat from outside. It might just be one of the bad actors. Remember, not everybody's a good person.
Yeah. The good thing though about a good neighborhood, if it's like a suburb like houses, is that everyone has surveillance. So like everyone like as a guy coming in a creepy van or something, the whole thing, obviously the damage will be done, but catching will be easier because the whole neighborhood is going to snitch on the guy. Whereas if you go to a shitty neighborhood, they're like, everyone's like afraid of snitching because that it's not good to do.
Snitches get stitches, and
But yeah, I would say more in an apartment building, it's better, because the best thing about an apartment building in terms of safety is that there's so many doors. There's so many, like, people think the best way to protect your car from being stolen is to like bolt it down, blah, blah, blah. No, it's to
have
put
a
it
shitty
where
car.
No, well, yeah, that too, but like put it where there's lots of cars, because when a guy's trying to steal, he isn't going to single out your car. There's so many options that he might skip your car when he's breaking windows to get stuff, right?
So what you're saying, Nuke, is if you have a Corvette, you actually don't want to park at the edge of the parking lot away from everyone else.
No, you want to park as close as you can where everyone's walking and where there's traffic. And also, if you have a truck with a cap on it, you are in lots of trouble. You will, if you don't every day take your tools out of there, whatever you have in there, you are in lots of trouble. People break those caps all the time to steal wrenches and meters. And Thor, how much does a fluke cost these days?
Oh shit, it depends. If you're getting a fluke like a Megger, you're talking a few $1,000s.
Yeah, they're like this big. That's easy. Swipe, run. You can put it in your pocket, run away.
I think my 114 goes for like near $200 right now.
I got a battery tester, $5K.
Just a regular multimeters, going to be under 5 or 6. But boy, you get into something like a Megger
or a TDR.
Oh, TDR is going to be worse. Turns ratio tester is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You really have to think ahead, like Thor had initially said, which I think was incredibly profound, and like everybody should take away from this. You need to be prepared for what could be, even if it hasn't happened. And it's funny that you're saying that, Nuke, because that's been a huge problem literally in the parking lot where our cars are parked. Literally on one night we had 3 broken into, but typically it's 1 a week, where people just come and they just break it because they see something, and they go ahead and they break the windows, they take your crap, and they go. So
I do have advice that was used. I do have some advice that was used. The advice I gave about the Claymore and the link is all phony stuff. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble for that. Don't lay out a fake Claymore mine. What you can do,
put out real ones. No, just kidding.
Don't put that.
There are remote cameras that you can place anywhere, and there are Apple tags. If you have something like a fluke that's easily concealable, once that goes, it's easy to catch, easy to get back. I've had crews that have had Apple tags on equipment, and everything that had tags concealed has been recovered, and somebody went to jail.
Yeah, Apple tags will save you. Another thing, if like I got my truck stolen in 2020, it's a very shitty experience.
That sucks. Yeah.
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah, exactly. That's a sinking feeling because you're
it's
just like,
terrible.
Yeah, did I forget did I park it somewhere else? And I think Chevy has the technology where if you get the service, I forgot what it's called, you can stop the truck remotely from a computer, right? Like not stop
Yeah,
it.
OnStar.
Yeah, OnStar. There you go. They'll slow it down to like 30 miles per hour. That way the police can catch up. But if you don't have that service, they will not activate it, even if your car is on the highway being stolen. That sucks. And also keep your spare key away from your truck if your truck is parked near your door, right? Because they can if the spare key, if it's a remote open kind of thing, like the beeper, they can access your truck and turn it on, right? And they can steal stuff too because your key is right next to the truck or right next to the door, which is right next to the truck. So keep that key concealed, put it in a metal box somewhere. Yep. That way your car won't pick up, because that's what the kids are doing now to steal stuff is that they have this device that mimics the frequency.
It's the RFID, so it's smart. If you're going to think ahead, guys, buy some Mylar bags. They're easy to get. Buy some Mylar bags. Make yourself some Faraday wallets. It's not hard. A simple Mylar bag will shut all that shit down when it comes to RFID. There's reasons that guys like me know that because we use RFID on all kinds of shit in our careers. So we know what the capabilities are. It's easy to shut down if you just have a conductive bag around it. So make sure you do that with stuff. It's easy. If you have a hide a key at your house, put it in a Mylar bag, hide it. It's not a problem.
Question for AJ. AJ, remember when we had to do roving watch at NNPTC?
Yeah.
Remember how there was 3 different watches? One that was like very on the hour you do the rove, and there was the ones that are just like random. And they told us that the reason they do random kind of like roves is because they want people that want to get into on site illegally. They want to be confused, right? Because like if you guys play Grand Theft Auto, wherever you're going to like break in somewhere, they like look for the pattern of the people, like all the security guards and all that stuff. So one of the best things you can do to keep yourself safe is be erratic when you're like doing stuff, right? Like if you're going on vacation, like I would just say like, hey, have someone come in the house and feed the dogs, and like don't be easy to figure out in terms of your patterns. That way, because thieves, they don't just break into your house, they watch you for a couple days, right?
Yeah.
In Norfolk, whenever a big ship is leaving, like 5,000, 6,000 people are leaving that base to go on deployment, that's when the break-ins happen, because they're all waiting and seeing and observing, okay, this ship's leaving, this family or this guy's leaving his house for 6 months. Now's our chance to strike, right? So
watch your mail. If you got mail come in, it's on a regular pattern and it's missing, somebody's casing your shit.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of mail, the USPS has a service that you can sign up for that sends you an email and scans in all your your incoming mail envelopes and stuff. So get that. You
can outthink this if you really want to.
I use that, but that's thieves. They will do recon on you before they steal. They will drive by your house. They'll walk in your backyard before they steal anything and look around and then calmly walk away. And if you catch them, they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm just I lost something here, or whatever." But understand,
no, you didn't. You did not lose something in my fenced-in, walled-in, 6-foot wall backyard, you motherfucker.
Yeah, but thieves do recon, and that's just the way it is,
Yeah. Well, and speaking of fantastic tools to better prepare you for all sorts of situations, guys, you need to check out Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence. Here's an ad for it right here.
Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis. Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.
Guys, Thor's book is an absolute game changer, and of course, it is narrated by the god amongst men himself, RP Thor. Just don't listen to it at night. He's so calming, he may actually put you to sleep. Not because it's boring, but because his voice wraps itself around you like Mufasa.
I was trained by Mike Steele. And to just kind of cap on that, guys, keep your eyes out on Amazon. There will be future books being published within the next 9 to 13 months that you're not going to want to miss.
Absolutely. I personally prefer to move in silence with regards to that.
Wait, is this DLC? Are we getting some DLC?
No, expansion packs.
You
Which
are
is
going
much,
to get
much better.
expansion packs on the skill sets. Essential skills of a dominant masculine presence will soon be available.
Now, guys, the last two big things I really want to talk about are the mental and then the fallout from this. Because remember, we're not shitting on the guy who stands between danger and his woman or danger and his family. We're just looking at the two different methods of handling things. And so the thing I want to ask the panel and the chat, of course, is the guy who chooses to stay in the closet with his wife and children and not go downstairs, because those men do exist. What's going through his head? In my opinion, I don't think he's a coward, especially if he is putting his wife and children behind him. So if they open the door to that closet, the first thing they're going to see is him. What do you guys think about that? What's going through that man's head versus the man that goes downstairs to handle business?
I'd say he's probably more or less thinking about survival primarily for both him, but also his family, and thinking that he's not able to handle the situation. And it's that simple. He's just thinking that whatever the situation is, I probably won't be able to handle it as effectively. So this is the best bet. If they're robbers, hopefully they'll just rob shit and then leave, and I won't have to do anything, right? And we'll be all safe, right? Their safety is more important than the stuff. That's good, right? So that, yeah, I wouldn't consider that, super cowardly, right? But it's pretty cowardly just because you're not facing up to the reality of life that you may have to encounter situations like that. So once again, that's one of those situations that's going to be extremely contextual. But once again, it is a viable option. And this always goes back to what are your options, right? And the more options you are aware of, the more options you have to succeed.
So,
Well,
Charles, I guess what I'm hearing from that, and what I was understanding from this whole thing, is it's oh man, sorry, my brain just like dumped. When it comes to this, what goes through the mind, it's almost like when you're doing it, there is a level of cowardice in the sense that I want the problem to go away versus I'm going to take care of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Having some emotional detachment and practicing that, I would actually say read the chapter I have on emotional durability. Having some detachment will allow you to pre-prepare for this and take the actions that you need to take. Ultimately, if somebody was to violate your space and threaten you, you need to make sure that you have in place the mentality that you fucked with the wrong place, motherfucker. Here we go. And move forward with it. How do you get there? Well, you have to do it with a little bit of emotional detachment. You have to detach from almost everything in order to go 1, 2, 3, go. And how do you do that? You have to practice it in your head a little bit. How do I do that, Thor? I'm scared. I understand. Life is scary. We got a lot of shit thrown at us. And guess what? None of us are getting out of here alive. Not a single one of us. So it's what we do at the time that's here. So how do we do that? We need to learn to detach a little bit so we can get things done. And Julian loves that caveat. It's not really a caveat. It's really the base level you have to operate at.
Let's say that one more time. Let's say that one more time. None of us are getting out of here alive.
No, that's the nature of our consciousness.
Allow me to throw a wrench in this, guys.
Oh my God, dude.
We're in the closet, the robbers.
Well, you're in the closet. You're in the closet.
We already knew that part.
Hey wife, the robbers are in the garage. The gun is in the garage. Hold on. It could just be that, hey, most of the time you're not thinking, or you made a mistake. Like you put the weapons that are supposed to protect your family in the wrong place in your house, and you're thinking, how do I sneak around? Or they're like, what is the smartest thing to do here, right? And sometimes you're in a situation where you're like, okay, there's 3 guys, they're taking the lawnmower, they're taking all my tools.
Let them have it.
Yep. But the gun is in the garage where my tools are.
Not good.
I don't care if my wife leaves me because she thinks I'm a pussy. I'd rather my kids live. And if I have to look stupid for a couple minutes because I left my gun where it's not supposed to, and she thinks I'm a pussy because of that from the rest of my life, as long as my kids live, then I'm okay with that. I'm sorry, perception's reality, wife, but it's not about me anymore. It's about, hey, survival. Like Taro was saying, I know it's stupid. However, if I'm strapped, I'm going down, right? Like if the gun is in the nightstand where it's supposed to be, right? I say, hey, kids, cover your ears. I'm about to blow some brains out, right? But,
Hell yeah.
You're not going to say that to your kids.
Yeah,
Well,
but
also, I mean,
Patty's going to fight the bad guys.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Someone
but
like Nuke would be out thinking anyway. So he would also have a level 3 vest that's in his closet. So he'd be able to put that level 3 vest on right away. It'd be a 3A vest, just like mine.
Oh man, I got
Or
level
he'd
4.
have his backpack sitting there, which guess what? It doubles as a level 3A vest anyway, and it goes with me everywhere.
this is why we trade
Those
notes.
are easy things to do, and now I have protection against those guys. It's game on, man. Let's
Like,
roll.
like imagine you invite Thor over your house and he goes and you're showing him your house and he tells you, hey, where's your vest? Oh, it's in the garage. And he's like, why is it in the garage? What good is it going to do in the garage? And that's why guys have to trade notes about this stuff, because sometimes it's not that you're a pussy. It's sometimes you're just dumb. You just didn't see it. You didn't plan correctly. Like, yes, you want to blow the guy's brains out that's threatening your family and taking your stuff, right? But the gun is in the garage and they're in the garage too. What are you going to do?
Such a great scenario to think about. I'm going to tell a story about a guy that's famous in our space, and I'm not going to use the name. And I spent time with him.
Huds.
Badass dude. And we're sitting there talking about international travel and this and that. And as we're moving, we're traveling, and I have my backpack. And I just happened to show him. He goes, "What's that red line?" I said, "Oh, you pull it, and the backpack turns into a level 3A vest." What the hell? I go, "Yeah. You travel with that everywhere?" I go, "Yeah, it's easy, built in."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Guess who travels? Somebody travels with level 3A vest now. It's called a leatherback. Anybody can go look it up. And there you go.
This is why we do these shows, because like, even if in my own world, in my own mind, I'm just like, yeah, I got guns, and they break into my house. If someone, if I didn't know that I'm supposed to have a gun locker in my master bedroom where my wife sleeps and sometimes my babies, how the hell would I be able to protect my family? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to blow someone's brains out, but I'm too stupid.
My carry-on is a backpack that's a level 3A vest. Do you think a box cutter is going to bother me?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Not really, no.
No.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's a great point, Nuke, because like I just kind of was like thinking about it. It's all about thinking ahead. It's all about thinking ahead on exactly how you're going to deal with scenarios that have not happened yet. And there was a time not too long ago where some shit was going down on our floor in our hallway, and I was passed out. I was taking a nap. I was very tired. I was like up all night the night before. My girlfriend freaked out so much that for the very first time in her life, she grabbed a gun. She grabbed one of my guns and stood at the door in case something had happened. That gun was not loaded, and she did not know how to load a gun, and she did not know how to shoot it. So when you're thinking about these types of, any type of possible scenario, make sure you're well prepared for said scenario.
Yeah.
And so don't just
all the guns in the world.
Don't react. Like, don't react. Be proactive to what could happen, even if it never does.
Yeah.
I'm not saying become like, go ahead.
I'll give you another scenario. Like, my best friend, he used to live in East Texas, right? East Texas is known for a lot of stealing of tools and all that stuff. And he had 2 little girls, right? His daughters. And whenever he had custody of them, they would sleep in his house, right? And I say, hey, dude, like, how do you protect your family, your house? He says, I can't. I have to be careful, right? Because if somebody comes in this house and I shoot and one of those bullets goes through the door, through the wall, and hits one of my daughters, I could kill them. So what does
That's
that
not a
mean?
plan.
Yeah, what does that
Muzzle
mean?
awareness.
Exactly. There's so many things you have to. That's why it's important for guys who talk about this stuff to get together and talk, because I didn't know that. Because maybe one day I have a family and a robber comes and I'm just pop, pop, pop. And then one of the bullets breaks through the drywall and kills somebody I love because I didn't train. I didn't talk to people about this, right? I didn't go to the gun range and become better at shooting, which is my dad. My dad was a military police. And I told him, hey, Dad, I'm getting a gun. He's just like, don't even bother if you're not going to practice. Don't even bother, because you could kill yourself or kill someone else that doesn't deserve to die. Look at female officers; they kill innocent people all the time because they're just not, they're just not as well trained or have the spatial awareness like men do, right? So if you're going to protect yourself, make sure that the intelligent part, the smart people part, goes first, and then when that savage has to come out, you'll have all your cards and all your ducks in order for that savage man to come out. Do the job, clean the gun, clean your face off from all the blood, and go back to being smart and call the police. And you're safe. You're within the confines of the law. Your family's safe. They're scared to shit. Now you can go turn around and tell them, hey, I took care of it. I love you. You're gonna get the best blow job from your wife whenever she calms down, because it wasn't the savage. I'm gonna be a savage part. That it was. I was smart enough to train, to practice my aiming, to look, hey, my daughters are sleeping in that room. These guys are in the garage. I have to make sure there's no stray bullets that hit my daughter's room. And that's the only way you know that is to talk to other guys. That's all you got. Because I didn't know that. I'm like, I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not a demolitions expert. I don't know none of this shit. But if I talk
the smartest thing you can do is after you clean your gun, don't leave it in the garage.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly, Julian. Like, exactly. Yep.
Now, Nuke, that is a fantastic transition into the final point here today. That
In the chat, guys. There you go.
I think that we're going to spend a great deal of time on. Now, before I do that, I'm going to play a little video here. We should be okay from copyright because I'm only going to play the first 30 seconds of a 30-year-old movie trailer.
In the chat for all of you is what you asked for.
All right, so let's pull this up here. Let me know if you can hear this.
No, you got to reshare it once more and click the one button.
Okay, so present, share screen,
yeah,
application.
But there should be a button towards the bottom that has your audio.
It says also share tab audio.
Yes.
Oh, share tab. Got it. I see it now. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, guys.
He's a U.S. Ranger. Highly decorated. Did a little hell raising when he was a kid, but nothing serious. He's defending his wife. Got in a drunken brawl. And he killed the guy. Could have happened to you or me.
After serving the last of his sentence, Cameron Poe is taking the first plane home to his wife and daughter.
So, how many of you have seen Con Air?
Nothing makes me sadder than the agent lost his bladder on the airplane.
So, guys, obviously this is Hollywood. Hollywood is not real, but that is an example of something that can and has happened to some men where they defend their family successfully and then they end up in jail because some member of the jury or some judge thinks they went a little bit too far. It's like, oh, this guy invaded your home and the guy had a big knife and you used a gun against the guy with the knife, so that means you have to go to jail.
No, that's bullshit. I mean, there's layers, right?
There are. We'll get there in a second.
Hey, I'm just getting excited.
Just live in Florida or Texas where you have castle law and just doesn't matter.
Well, and so we're not going to necessarily break down into the nitty-gritty of, oh, you shot him in the head, or you shot him in the chest, you shot him in the back, and you're not supposed to shoot him in the back, and all these different little things that will matter ultimately in the courtroom. Here's what we're going to talk about now, and I think is something that's going through the head of a lot of guys. I think if you ask a lot of guys that, it's one intruder, would you be willing to defeat the intruder and die for your woman? Like, you both have knives and you both end each other and you both die and your woman and child are safe. Would you be okay with that? A lot of guys would say yes. What a lot of guys would not be okay with is they successfully defend their family and they get thrown in prison for 25 years for doing what they're supposed to do. And the big question is okay, if you tell me I'm going to go to prison for 25 years, all I care about is my woman waiting for me when I get out. And so that's the question here, guys, is can a man rely on the war bride's dynamic of hypergamy to get him through that trial, or is that something he cannot be relying on whatsoever? Basically, you've got a lot of men that would be afraid that, if I go to jail, my woman's going to leave me because now I'm a criminal. Because I used to be a good guy. Well, now I'm a criminal. She's going to leave me for a guy who's not a criminal. But then, like earlier, Nuke said, if you successfully defend your family, you're going to get the best blowjob you've ever had. That's all great in theory, but if you go to jail, is war brides, Rational Male, page 186, by the way, is that going to keep your woman waiting for you for 25 years while you serve your sentence? Is she going to be there on the other side? Is that even something a man should be concerning himself with when he finds himself in a situation where he's overly punished for what happened?
Mike, before we dive into it, I want you to, if you could, just clarify what War Brides is.
Absolutely. So, Rational Male, page 186. War Brides is a sub concept of hypergamy where, from an evolutionary standpoint, women had to be able to jump from one man to another because you had warring tribes that were killing each other back and forth and back and forth. And so if a superior enemy were to come in, whether it's the leader of that army or the members of the army themselves, if they came in and wiped out all the men in that tribe in war and left behind the women and children, women developed an evolutionary need to be able to latch on and bond with their own captors and the men who killed their husbands in order to survive. And so that evolutionary function has carried through into women today, and that's why we hear stories all the time of women falling in love with and getting the alpha fucks hots for criminals, for men with dark triad traits. How many stories have we seen of drug dealers and guys who have killed multiple people there in prison? They still got their baby mama coming every Wednesday afternoon to say hi to them and talk to them on the phone through that glass. And she's waiting for him. I'm waiting for my man to come out of prison. We hear that happening all the time. So then, my question is it even worth a man relying on that known quantity till he gets out, or does he have to come to grasp with the fact that, hey, if I successfully defend my wife and daughter and I go to prison, my wife may divorce me and leave me for doing what I was supposed to do and take my kid with her, because life ain't Hollywood, life ain't Con Air.
Well, I think that's funny. I'm going to just start on it before I throw it over. Maybe we'll go around the horn on this one. I don't have a fear of that whatsoever. I think it all comes down to frame. What type of frame do you have in your relationship? I know that if anything like this happened, as long as I'm doing the right thing, my girl is never going to leave me. That's just the truth. And I know that sounds like silly, and people will say, well, you never know. All women are like that. They're always going to monkey branch and yada, yada, yada. No, that's why I picked the appropriate consort.
That can work. However, you like to throw wrenches, Nuke. I throw fucking hammers. Human nature is human nature. There is something out there, guys. I've hypothesized about this, and I believe it's absolutely true, and it will be true. And these discussions should be had, and you should be honest about it, and you should not perseverate it and think about it over and over, because that is not productive for your well-being, regardless of whether you're incarcerated or moving in the future. There is something called the female escalation arousal response, which means given the right time and the right spot, her nature will be unleashed thoroughly. And she will probably try to conceal it from you because she cares about you. She will not say the quiet part out loud. So if you're being honest about this is just like you dying. If you pass and you die, what would you want your woman to do? Is she forever bound to you, or do you allow her the freedom till death do us part? I'll tell you this. In my circumstances, whether it's a long-term, long-distance, even if it's a long-distance relationship, and there is no access, and I have been removed from the situation, the love that I had for her and the family would dictate that I want her to be a natural woman. If she has needs and I cannot meet those needs, I expect her to get those needs met by someone at least as competent as me, and would encourage it. And that goes for the day I pass. I would not hold her to anything less, because I'd be asking her to have much less of a life than the universe has granted her. That's my take on it. Hammer thrown.
Yeah.
But you're not. But that's the argument that I have. There is, I get that and I agree with that. But if you're incarcerated and you're going to come out, it's like, so what? Let's say it's even just like 10 years.
You're coming back from the dead.
I don't know. I just have trouble wrapping my head around it. Like, especially if we have a family structure and stuff.
Most guys can't wrap their head around a woman's past, much less
here,
something like that.
I would have
It's a hell of a mentality to be able to.
Everybody wants to talk. I hear so many people going. I'm going to shut up and let you guys go.
Well, you said you were struggling to wrap your head around it. So it's very simple. It's the same reason why you don't let your girl go to girls' night out or go to the nightclub, because her female nature, if she encounters an individual that can game her, and like Thor said, if you're not in the picture, technically speaking, if you are removed, separated literally by a prison or a jail, then you're technically out of the picture, right? So you have to be reasonable in your own head about it and understand that even if your girl is being loyal to you and waiting for you, she can still be gamed, because that's female nature. If the right circumstances are there,
nobody can outgame me. I'm the best dating coach in Philly.
But if you're not there anymore, then you know what, you're basically just a corpse. That's what Thor's trying to get at. So you have to be outcome independent in that regard. If you do get thrown in jail or prison for even doing the right thing,
do you want her to stop her life because of what happened?
Well, I'm not even going there, Thor. I'm just saying, like, you cannot assume as a man that she is going to stick around. Now, if she does, cool. If she sticks around and she actually remains loyal, because some girls will stick around but not remain loyal. They'll be, fucking some dude on the side while you're locked up. Like, there's plenty of guys that have found this out the hard way that I know from MLD's mastermind, right?
Yeah,
how many times do we hear stories like that, Huds? Just like, yeah, when I got out, turned out she'd been fucking this dude the whole time. Right. And that dude was only in jail or in prison for like 2 years or some shit like that, if I remember correctly. But anyway, the point is, you got to separate yourself from that outcome. And you're right, Huds, about that's not a fear for you, because this actually plays into what I said before that I was taught about fighting in general, is that even if you win a fight, you can still lose a fight. And that's an example that he gave me of you can still lose a fight. And then when we saw the movie Con Air, he's just like, yeah, that's a good example. So that's the point. You have to have that mindset of that you are going to do your damnedest to be prepared and do the right thing, but there are unforeseen consequences even if you do the right thing. That's why life is not fair, and just be prepared for any possible fallout. Remember, the war brides, you could alpha your widow, right? Or alpha widow your girl by dumping her or by being separated. Right? The same way as if you broke up with your girl, Huds, she'd lose her mind, right? Because if you just suddenly just pull that rug out from underneath her, same thing would be with the prison. But eventually, due to the war brides dynamic, she's going to move on, correct?
Yeah, see, that's the tough one. I would want her to.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I would want her to move on if I did die, but if otherwise, I mean, this is the life that we have chosen ourselves. Like, we are so deeply ingrained at this point that, yeah, if it has to be like a 10-year hiatus, so be it. Like,
I would
like,
offer that choice to my women. I want them to live their life, their best life now.
I would say, the minute she finds out that you're going, like, if you're in the courtroom, the minute she finds out that you're going away, she's gonna start looking for another guy.
Well, her nature will.
Yeah, I mean,
Whether
that's
she admits it or not.
it's biology, right? Like it's
biology,
not what you can do. She's not yours; it's just your turn, right? Meaning
Sure.
that,
Sure.
you know,
I think acknowledgement of it's very useful. Now, whether she falls or not, that's strictly part of it. Whether you place that demand on her as part of your terms of service when you have no way to exercise those terms of service is hopeful. If it works for you, that's great. Hard to reconcile the thinking, yes, but most men have extremely hard time reconciling a woman's past. Damn, how did he fuck you? Was it upside down? Did he pile drive you? What did he do? Most men have a real hard time with that.
Dude, pile drive is, you can talk to Sterling. Pile driver is like one of the most not fun sexual positions.
it could be that you kill a man in self-defense of her, and she may leave you because she thinks you're a monster.
That's correct, and that's a.
There are no,
point.
there is no. This is a covert contract where extreme shows of protection of masculinity will ensure that she loves you forever. Not even that is the case. You could shoot somebody that's trying to kill her, and she'll look at you and be like, "You're a monster. You blew that guy's brains out." And you're like, "Yeah,
exactly.
Like, get away from me. I don't know who you are anymore." Right? You don't know.
That's
That's life.
women like that. Yeah.
You have no idea. Obviously, she probably will thank you for keeping you
These
alive.
are quite deep and profound questions that men do ask and struggle with.
Yeah.
And I would tell the guys that's not really what's important right now. What's really important is the now, the moment now, and the decisions you make and the actions you take right now. If you get stuck thinking about this circular thinking, you're going to get stuck in a loop about her past forever. That's why body count should not matter to you, because once you've moved past the actual actions, it's done.
Yeah, look at Kyle Rittenhouse when he blew that guy's arm up. Right, his girlfriend wrote a letter to Kyle Rittenhouse and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I hope that one day, like a very weird letter, like almost like forgiving Kyle Rittenhouse for destroying her boyfriend's arm."
Yeah, weird. Yeah,
and, you see, and that's obviously we like to see bad people get punished doing bad things, right? But that also happens for good people, right? Like she could write a letter for you after you blew his leg off or something, apologizing to him and saying, "Hey, maybe we can talk sometime after my husband."
A pretty human thing, man.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of guys, hybristophilia, a lot of women or men cannot, like, why do you like this guy? Why do you like murderers and serial killers? Why do you watch true crime so much? And
Yeah. That's real popular.
They cannot help it, right? So it may go both ways. Maybe you do protect her and you do have to take extreme action and step outside of your element. But it could also be that, she could be absolutely disgusted by you taking a life. You don't
prepare to prevent it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That goes back to one of the things that Rollo talks about, right? Is that women don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could, right? Women, don't want a man to kill or commit extreme violence, but they usually love a man that could, right? So sometimes, yes, if they see that happen in front of them, or like say for example, if you get into one of those fights, but you lose your shit because you're scared for your family and you go into full savage mode and you just won't stop hitting the guy on some Hulk shit or something like that, that alone, like, even if you successfully defend the family, if you don't have that control and that restraint, could demonstrate to her, like, shit, well, if he handled this situation this way, what happens if he gets mad at me? Right? What happens if I do something really wrong, or he loses is he going to be able to stop himself? Right? It shows a lack of masculinity and restraint, even though you were capable of violence. That can be a turn on for some girls because it's out of control. But if she's looking at you like a long-term bet, like, this is the father of my children, like, what if my son freaks out one day and starts going off on dad and dad can't stop hitting him? I don't think I want to reproduce with this guy. That hindbrain gets triggered. So yes, that is there. It does go both ways, and the context, once again, matters.
Yeah. Also, like when World War II, after World War II, a lot of people were getting divorced from the soldiers that came back, right? These guys were defending their country. They were doing everything right. They were killers, right? They went out to kill Nazis, and they come back and their wives were like, nope, we don't want you anymore.
That's right. That did happen.
There is no guarantees in terms of you being showing your masculine savage side, right? I'm sorry, like it's a covert contract to think, hey, if I'm masculine and alpha in this situation, I will be appreciated. And that is you got to unhinge yourself from that, because true masculinity is basically, regardless of the outcome, I need to do what needs to be done. And if the outcome is that my wife no longer wants to be with me, but the kids are safe, so be it. I will divorce her and move on with my life. But
then, Nuke, if that's the case, if there are no guarantees, then why should a man go downstairs to handle business in the first place?
Probabilities.
Quantum mechanics, right? Like when we talk about probability of where a particle is going to be at a certain time in a certain place, right? There's two ways to observe it, right? Observing a particle while you're not looking at it, like through measuring its energy, gives you a very abstract version or measure of that particle, like a photon. But if you observe the photon directly, you will see a physical photon in front of you, right? Meaning you can take this information in this video and say, hey, these are things that could happen. But when that situation comes up, you're on your own, and you have one thing in front of you, and that's this problem, right? And the best you can do, again, is that don't trust yourself to always do the right thing at a split second. Trust yourself to prepare. That way, all the variables that could go wrong get taken away. Like, for example, don't leave your gun in the garage. That's a huge variable, right? And guys, people don't know this stuff. So the best thing you can do in order to keep yourself safe from yourself and your bad decision making is to put yourself in a situation where you can observe and get all the data, so you get the photons energy on an abstract level like we're doing right now. And when you're in front and observing the photon, you can both come together, use both of that, and be able to explain to people what quantum mechanics is. I know it's I went a little off rails here, but essentially I don't trust myself always to make the right decision when shit hits the fan. I'm a human being. I err. I'm dumb. I'm tired. I'm mad. I'm hungry. I'm sick. I will be in not an optimum state when shit happens, right? So the best thing I could do is, drive the speed limit, so to speak, in terms of life. Understand that, hey, I'm a human being. I fuck up, and I know I will. Like, I assume I'm gonna fuck up. I assume I'm gonna not aim correctly and miss his head and hit his leg, and he's gonna charge, like those kind of things. So let's not trust ourselves too much as men. Let's kind of think, how can I make the probability favor me the most beforehand, and then when shit hits the fan, I probably won't even have to shoot the gun because my dog bit his leg, and he's like, okay, I'm done, I'm leaving, and then I have a clear shot at his ass, and I can shoot him in the ass, and the police will come, and we're good. Instead of thinking, all I need is a gun. And see, Thor just told me, hey, you need a vest too. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, why wouldn't I think of that? Putting on a vest takes 1 second and go down, like, holy shit. And that's why, no matter how masculine you are, if you get shot in the chest, you're done. You're cooked.
All the gains in the gym in the world don't do anything if you're dead. So
like Stephen Bradley Jones here says, this is like the very military way of thinking. Don't rise to the occasion. Default to your training. There you go.
Yeah.
Train.
Yeah.
Default to your training. Don't rise to the occasion, right?
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that. You either do fight, flight, or freeze. Actually, if you look at real, like, let's say, street fighting scenarios and how people actually respond under pressure or when something random happens, most of the time, most people just kind of ignore it and are confused about what's happening and just more or less try to NPC it and go about their day. They don't even freeze. They'll just be confused and then just, like, muddle around. Right. There's a video that I saw, and it's a little trigger warning, right? Is that, there was a bad man attacking children on a playground and, with a blade, and there was like only one guy that responded to the situation. The two moms or whatever that were there, and the other people were just kind of just like confused, like, huh? Like, what's happening? You're just completely fucking lost. Another video that I've seen that displayed this as well was there was two guys. There was one guy with a knife fighting another guy with a knife, or that didn't have a knife, in the street. And the dumbass guy was going after the guy with the knife, even though he wasn't armed, right? Because he's bigger, so I guess he thought he could take it. This woman is trying to cross the street and is like just trying to walk through them, like just continuing on her day. She's in like a nurse garb or whatever. Like she was like trying to go to her like nursing assistant job or something like that. And she's just like completely oblivious to the fact that these two individuals are literally fighting to the death in front of them, and just was like trying to walk through them, and they let her through. Like, and then one dude ended up losing his life apparently after the fact. I didn't see that part in the video. But that's an example of how people actually handle those situations. They don't do the things typically that they think about because they haven't trained. That's why the whole thing that I'm saying is that you have to contemplate these things. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis like Thor said, but you need to train and actually get that stuff. You know, like if you, like Nuke said, if you get a gun, learn how to use it. If you get a blade, learn how to use it. Whatever tool you get, you got to learn how to use it. Because a thumb can either hit the nail on the head or it can smash your thumb. It's based on your competence and practice.
Yeah. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's Mike Tyson. Right.
Well, we want to extend our appreciation to our super chatters here today. We have some very generous donations to the channel. We want to thank you. Despite the heavy topic today, because these people have donated $10, they get the $10 super chat response. You know what I'm talking about. But first, we're going to go ahead and read them. First, $10 from Danny Arnold. Do we have I got to go all the way to the... Where's the war horn? Do I have the war horn? Here we go. Thank you very much, Danny Arnold. No funny voices today, guys, because this is a very serious discussion. Danny Arnold, I'm totally a pro-gun Second Amendment kind of guy. And even if I will say, if you're going to be a carry citizen, you need to invest in your gear bag, your carry rig, and your armor and vest as much as your everyday carry.
Yeah.
Where did Paul put the video? Where did Paul put it? Up here it is for the $10 super chat. You get this.
Super chat will see you there. Shake it dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
Is this what we're fighting for?
Thank you very much for that. And we have two back-to-back $10 super chats from Steve Salmon.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to say, EDCs, your everyday carry bag, guys, look into it. It's very important. I really only use guns or even carry when I'm in my car. But that EDC there, definitely look into it. Very important just for your own. Yeah, just make sure if anything else goes wrong, you're ready to go. All right, go on.
Now, I'm looking, because Steve Sandman very generously donated two $10 back-to-back. I'm looking for the $20 super chat video, but I'm not seeing it here. Did Paul take it down? I'm not the booby one, the tatas.
All right, we'll just have double backup buns. Backup buns are good.
Okay, well, ordinarily I would play the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Steve, but we will do the $10 one twice.
Super chat will see you there. Shake it dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest. Super chat will see you there.
Thank you very much, Sandman, for that. We appreciate your support. We will nag at Paul to make sure we get that $20 super chat video re-uploaded
That
to the
girl
channel.
can-
Yeah, that bum. What's up with him? He was out running or something. Like
Yeah.
what's up? What's that about?
Running from his problems. He's
Yeah,
running from
he's
Glenn.
running.
That's what's
He got-
happening.
he
Glenn
got-
stomped his ass in the debate the other day on Friday, and so I think that's why he's running.
No, but shout out to Paul. Come on, man, podcast.
Yeah, good
man,
man. We should
he
play
got
something.
sixth place in his 10K. He
That's
killed
good.
it today.
10K.
Sounds like he was chasing the poon to get there.
Well, Nurse Chick sent him a little private message stating what he's going to have access to when he gets back, assuming he can still stand.
Oh shit! Here we come. 4-minute mile.
So shout out to Nurse Chick too if you swing by the chat. So yeah, guys, this was a big one today, and
Yeah.
that's a tough one because a lot of guys that's actually they fear that more than death. They fear going to jail for nothing. Because in their head, or maybe even sometimes, maybe if we're having a bad day, maybe in our heads,
Yeah.
hey, if I go to jail and she leaves me, well then I just went to jail for nothing. I could survive jail if I knew what was waiting for me on the other side, but not every guy thinks that way, and let's be honest, not every guy gets that.
Yeah.
I think the woman waiting for the good guy who had to do something bad one time, I think that's rare. I think whenever we hear about these drug dealers and criminals having women waiting for them, I think, do you guys think those women got with that guy and they already knew what he was about? And so putting a man in the ground just made him even hotter at that point. It's not like a fine upstanding citizen who had to do something one time. It's this guy who's had a record of dark triad and has been a criminal his whole life, so he's got 3 baby mamas, and now those baby mamas are all waiting for him when he gets out. Do you think that's too
I'm gonna
different,
go out on a
guys?
limb on this one.
Very heady
Yeah.
cocktail for some women. They call it hyperstophilia. That power. Yeah, it can happen.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they already knew what the guy was going into based on reading Offie Kingdom's work, like the way he talks about like pimp game and stuff. I think a lot of those girls already know what they're in for.
Yeah. Well, most girls know, or very few girls don't honestly know what their guys are up to. They usually figure it out, even if they didn't know in the beginning and he didn't tell them. Well, once again, that's part of the game. Discovery trumps disclosure, right? And so it goes back to what I mentioned before.
Pause for 1 second. What does that mean? Discovery trumps disclosure. I just want to make sure, like, if we have any new viewers, that they understand what that means.
That means that her discovering who you are is more fun and enjoyable for her, especially if she like figures you out or feels like she figures you out. She's going to be more satisfied. That's why you don't disclose like who you are, like tell the girl your whole life story on the first date.
Demonstrate, don't explicate.
That's effectively, giving her spoilers, right? Basically, you telling her is giving her spoilers for who you are, and she doesn't want spoilers. She wants to enjoy learning who you are. So that question goes back to that's the context of the girls love a guy that could cheat, but don't often enjoy a guy that actually does cheat, right? So it's the same thing with the violence. Women love a man that's capable of violence, but depending on how he enacts it, and even it's sometimes for some girls, if he does, yeah, it's going to either be a validator or an invalidator, right? That's extremely contextual, unfortunately. But it basically falls into that same flexible category, if that makes sense.
And so it kind of sounds like we're all saying pretty much the same thing. Like, there are no guarantees in this life.
Nobody coming to
Absolutely
rescue.
none. You might head downstairs to handle business, and you might be one of the lucky ones where all you have to do is take your DP12 and go, and the guy bolts out the hole he broke in the window and hightails it down the street. That may be all you have to do, and great. Hopefully he doesn't come back. Or you may head downstairs to take care of business and you end up in jail and your woman stays, or you end up in jail and your woman leaves, or you end up in the ground. There are no guarantees, and it kind of sounds like what we're all touching on is that as a man who's about his business, you need to be okay with that.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone that's former military. I obviously not speaking for Nuke probably here. Like when you take that oath, it's kind of like I understand that there's a chance I'm going to be sent to a place that I may never come back from. So when I did my enlistment and my reenlistment and doing sub volunteer, it was like, yeah, I'm willing to go into the deep dark and never return.
Damn. Well, and on that note, on the deep, dark abyss of death, guys, let's go around the horn and talk about where people can find you and what you're doing. We're going to go in reverse order. So we will start with the God amongst men, RP Thor.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining the Dragon Ship today, guys. Let me take my glasses off, get a good look at you in the audience. Everybody in the chat, much appreciated. Thanks for climbing aboard today. Sometimes we have a lot of fun with these issues, tongue in cheek. Today is a little more serious. People should ask these questions. As a man, you have to. And if you have a little bit of struggle with it, there is answers. And the answers are pretty simple. Come check out my book. Here you go.
Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis. Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.
So, Nuke has to head out here, so we will go to him next. Nuke, where can people find you? What are you up to?
You guys can I'll put my link tree in the comments. You guys can find me my Twitter. Just put in my name and you'll find me on all platforms and all that stuff. I just posted 2 new Substacks are free. Articles are free if you guys want to go check them out. That's where I'm starting to write my book, and then whenever I'm finished writing all these articles, then I will put it in a book and put it out there, guys. So yeah, that's where you guys can find me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nuke, for swinging by. Professional wrench thrower and atom splitter. Tarl, the Viking paradigm. Where can people find you, and what trouble are you causing?
You're about to find out. Yeah, follow me on YouTube, link in chat, subscribe to me. I'm trying to grow my YouTube a bit here. And I'm just going to continue doing more content, adding value, and I may or may not be working on some other collaborations with some individuals here. We'll see how things go.
May or may not be. In other words, you are.
Well, I'm the final decider on that. I can shut him out.
So Carl, coming to us from the Bubblegum Cyberpunk studio, AJ, the Viking detailer and professional beard grower. Where can people find you?
I'm about to drop that in the chat. There they go. Mainly find me lurking on Glenn's channel lately. Did my first Rule Zero episode today, so that was fun.
Congratulations!
Finally making it there. Other than that, I need to get back to make my own content, and I am off of Facebook and Instagram for indefinite time period. But my X is there, my YouTube's there.
All right, thank you very much. And now, the blonde bastard, Huds.
I just want to know what AJ did to get banned off of Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, I didn't do anything to get banned. I just took myself off.
Yeah, what do you take him for?
Fair enough. All right, guys. So
a Jack Napier?
Yeah, right. Jack is funny. So just to let you guys know, I'll go ahead and throw out my YouTube here. If you guys are not following me, I do some cross streaming and whatnot that goes on with my own men's group. My men's group is Men of Now, and it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. What Thor was talking about, like we're living in the now, so live in the now, be present. And what we do on this in this group, in this men's community, and you can find off of that the link to join the community, is we just focus on how we can be the best we can be, and we cover all of the blind spots because that's something that we all have. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. We all have blind spots, and through having a lot of different people available to support you in whatever endeavor or whatever section of life you're going through, whether it's career oriented, whether it is relationship oriented, somebody who's able to push you forward. So we've been doing a lot of great streams. We actually derailed this week. I wanted to talk about it because I love basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport, and in the Olympics, Steph Curry showed up. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2023, so about a year ago, it was being pushed through the news where his wife, Aisha, she went on Red Table Talk with none other than Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh,
and
geez.
kind of said a bunch of crap that put a lot of rumors out there. And then from there, she went on another show, Girl Talk. And then on Girl Talk, she like made a joke by like fake taking off her wedding ring when this guy in like a Chippendale outfit with like ripped abs came out, which again, disrespect. No matter what happened, even though he had kind of a shaky season, I would say, he won his first gold medal and he led them to victory. It was at the very end of the game where he just killed it. I mean, I even have a chart of the shots, and bam, he just wrecked on the threes at the very end. But we talk about that type of stuff. We talk about real life. We talk about some of the history. We're doing that right now, going through the history of the manosphere and all these different people that are in the space, because a lot of people don't know. Like either you're new or maybe you need a refresher on some of the information because you have forgotten about it. So we're having a lot of fun with that. We're doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of these great men's groups here, especially like the Dragons. So it has just been fantastic. So that's the best way to reach me. From there, if you want to communicate with me one-on-one, Instagram, it's just at the Hudsman. You see it right there. But yeah, fantastic show. Mike, I love this topic. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome. I will be taking us out today live here from sunny Las Vegas. And guys, pre-decisions. Decide ahead of time what you're going to do. Decide ahead of time that you're willing to suffer such and such consequences, whether it's being put in the ground or put in a cell, or being okay with the fact that your woman may leave you after you go downstairs and handle business. That's an expression we like to use for you know what. You need to make that decision ahead of time and be okay with it, because when the moment does arrive, you won't have time to think about it. You will have split seconds. It will need to be muscle memory. If you make the decision ahead of time, whatever that decision may be. And see, that's the thing. We're not passing judgment on the guy who prefers to stay upstairs and protect his wife and family from upstairs and decides not to head downstairs to handle business. They will just have different outcomes depending on the situation. So think about it. Only you can make this decision for yourself. Don't listen to a bunch of dudes tell you on the internet that if you don't go downstairs to handle business, you're not a real man, you're low T, you're beta, you're a simp, blah, blah, blah. No. You have to make it for yourself and what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to lose. And with that, one guy isn't here today. One guy isn't here. Paul Bauer, that bald jabroni, isn't here because he went on to a debate with Glenn Lawrence on Friday, and Glenn Lawrence spanked his ass so handedly that Paul had to run 10 kilometers to try to get out of Glenn's reach. But that's okay. We won't hold that against him. So we'll play his book ad here instead. His course ad, excuse me, I should say. Don't be a nice guy.
Yeah,
Nice guys.
You know what? I gotta say this. He may not be able to debate. He may not be able to win in that ring, and he may not be able to win in the other ring either. But he does have good advice in this.
Do you ever feel like you're stuck trying to please everyone, yet you're not getting the respect or the success that you deserve? You're not alone. Many men suffer from what's known as nice guy syndrome, hiding their true selves in a quest for acceptance and approval. But what if you could break free from this cycle? What if you could be assertive, confident, and truly successful in your relationships, career, and life? Hi, I'm Paul Bauer, a certified master life coach and certified master NLP practitioner. I've helped countless men overcome nice guy syndrome by guiding them to discover their authentic selves and embrace their true potential. Through personalized coaching and powerful NLP techniques, I can help you unlock the confidence and assertiveness you need to thrive. Transform your life today. Become the man you were always meant to be. Confident, successful, direct, and true to yourself. Ready to take the first step towards a better you? Contact me today and let's work together to break free from the limitations of nice guy syndrome. Visit coaching.comeonmanpod.com to book a call with me right now. Take control of your life and start experiencing the success that you deserve.